is tomorrow, right?
Yeah, yeah. We
Okay.
tried it Tuesday morning and that didn't work out very well.
No, you don't want to.
It took
No.
us an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay, where are you? Where the heck are you?
I'm
Oh,
here.
there you are. Okay. All right. Hold on a minute. I got to.
Are you going live on Meta?
Yeah, I'm live now. Okay, I'm live on Facebook.
On
Uh,
Meta?
on Meta. What's Meta?
That's the new name for Facebook.
What do you mean?
Facebook isn't going to be Facebook anymore. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's going to be Meta.
Because of all of because of all the scandal about the
That's not
Trump
what
and
they
everything,
say.
huh?
That's not what they say.
Whoa. When did I? Gosh, I don't know. I hadn't heard this.
Really?
You know, I hadn't heard this. Why are they?
How do I know this and you don't?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You're the one with your ear to the ground and reading all the news every day.
Well, as you can see, I actually don't.
You just act like you do.
I just act like I do.
Yeah, no, they're going to be, the new name is going to be Meta.
META, like a meta tag.
Well, like the metaverse, which is like the new name for, I don't know, all things internet or something. I'm not sure. It's like it's a new, uh, I don't know, name that
Huh.
they're using for different things, but they're relating it to that.
Well, I hadn't heard that either, but then why would
Yeah.
I? um, actually, speaking about all of that, we started watching a new Netflix series last night called The Billion Code,
Hmm.
and it's a little well, no, it isn't really anything like Silicon Valley because it isn't funny at all, but but it's a similar storyline, I guess, in that
About startups.
about startups, and it's actually based on a true story. These guys in Berlin
But it's a
who,
drama. It's not a documentary.
right, it's a drama. It's
Okay.
based on actual events, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, it's these guys in Berlin who actually back in the early 90s envisioned and came up with the algorithm for Google Earth.
Oh.
And yeah, they back and Google didn't actually have Google Earth until 2005. So there's this big lawsuit. They were suing Google. I haven't gotten to the end of the series. It's 4 episodes, and we're only halfway through it. But they're suing Google for stealing their algorithm. But they came up with it like literally like almost like 10 or 11 years before Google had it. Kind of amazing, really. Kind of an amazing story. Anyway, it's called The Billion Code.
It's still amazing that Google Earth even exists.
I know, right?
That they've literally photographed, videoed like every inch of the.
Well, that was the whole thing, of course. I mean, when you think back to 1993, when these guys came up with this idea, I mean, we had the big lunchbox mobile phones, remember? And not everybody used the internet. I mean, we weren't all on the internet back in the early 90s. That didn't
No.
happen till the mid to late 90s that we all got on the internet. I mean, it's so hard to imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
for them to come up with it, I mean, it was actually, it's quite, I just, but the part of it that reminds me of Silicon Valley is they had this huge thing that people had to come to them to do it. And what they wanted to do was make it available to people on their PCs, so that and of course they figured they could store all the data on the internet. Well, that was pretty radical thinking back in 1993 when
Mm-hmm.
they had the idea, or 95 or whenever it was. But and they were trying to get investor. They had come up with the thing, and they were at a conference in Kyoto where they unveiled their thing, and but you had to like I said, it was this huge thing, and you had to go to them to experience it. And they wanted to take it to the PC platform, so they ended up they went back to Berlin. They had gotten an opportunity to go to Silicon Valley in California. They went, because they were going all over the world demonstrating their thing, and they called it TerraVision, is what they called it. And they decided to go home to Berlin, and they said, we don't need to be in Silicon Valley. Our team is in Berlin. These are our people. They created this. We can, and they had the idea that they wanted to take it to individual PCs. And so they were going around to different venture capitalists and whatnot to try and raise money to do that. And everybody thought that they were just crazy because they were just, a couple years ahead of their time. But anyway, it's I find it quite an interesting story. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's, and not only is there Google Earth, but there's multiple companies that have the same thing, that have videoed and photographed every inch of everything. It's pretty amazing that exists. This we're up at the lake house right now, and even here in our cul-de-sac in the middle of nowhere, we've seen, and as rare as we're here, we've seen multiple times, like the Google Earth or the Apple Maps or whatever car go by with the the big cameras on it and stuff. Right. And
right.
And one time we were actually in Paris, and we're walking down the Champs-Elysees by the Arc de Triomphe, and the Google Earth truck came by.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, that's so cool. If you look at the Champs-Elysees or the Arc de Triomphe on Google Earth, we're going to be like walking down the street.
Well, they always
blur you,
obscure anybody, on the street.
Well, there's a lot of people to blur on the Champs-Elysees.
Well, I bet
probably 1,000 people, in a block.
So do you think that's a full-time job? Do you think those are contract employees? I always wonder about those guys that drive around in those cars with
I would think so. With the amount of time and effort that it's got to take, I would think that those are, well, maybe they have armies of part-time people too. I don't know, but maybe it's both. But because you would assume it would literally take armies of people to do that. So I don't know.
Interesting. Well, it's certainly interesting, and how the world has changed in 20-30 years. But
and that's obviously affected even real estate too, because every time you now have it's just another step, since since you and I were selling real estate, and we had the telephone type book that was delivered every week, with all of the listings in it, and you didn't have internet access and didn't have, photos available of any properties. But now not only is all that available on the internet, but you can also look it up on Google Earth and see where it is in the neighborhood, and walk down the street and around the corner and see what all is there, and all of those sorts of things. It's definitely changed, how people see real estate, I think too. Not only literally see it, but metaphorically see it too. And see places and locations and areas and all of that differently, and also makes it more possible and more likely, since you and I were both at Sotheby's, we started seeing more international buyers and people and properties being sold sight unseen. We said sight unseen, but by that point people could actually see, on the internet, on Google Earth or whatever apps they were using, they could actually not only see the home and the listing and the photos and virtual tours and walkthroughs, but now you can also see how it's situated in the neighborhood, in this town, and what's around it, and what the landscape and the geography is like, and everything else. So it's made all of that stuff possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I had a contract earlier in September, August or September, where my guy was coming up from St. Louis, but he never actually came to Chicago. He we did everything virtually by FaceTime, and he had, kind of explored the neighborhood with Google Earth or whatever he did, whatever app he used. But
Hmm.
really, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely possible. You don't really need to physically, although I would never necessarily recommend it, but you don't physically need to walk the property so much. I mean,
Hmm. Well,
you know,
especially for
it's not the
investors. I
same.
mean,
It's not the same. I mean, the virtual FaceTime and all that stuff. Well, I haven't actually. I've always been the one who's been doing the FaceTime, not the one who's been watching the FaceTime. So I'm not exactly sure what that experience is like for a buyer to do a FaceTime on a property. But
well,
I don't.
remember Larry Kendall and Ninja Selling talks about the different personality types and how people and how they apply to real estate. And there are people that need to see and touch and feel it. And then there's like four types, I believe, but there are types that don't need that, that it's more of an
Mhm,
auditory experience or whatever.
mhm, mhm.
But yeah, so I guess not, to me, that seems really strange too. I buy a lot of things online, but there are a lot of things I need to touch and feel.
Right,
Or maybe
right.
I'll touch and feel it in a store and then buy it online. But
Oh,
uh,
right. Hmm.
in any case, I
But
guess
we
there are
definitely want to
types.
support our local merchants and not Amazon. Amazon's making enough money, thank you.
But I am
Don't
a
you
big
think?
Amazon fan. I'm a huge Amazon fan.
You're a huge Amazon fan?
Yeah, especially since COVID, man.
Well, aren't we all? But yeah, aren't we all? I mean, they just make it so easy, right? But
Yeah,
I think it's really wreaking havoc on our poor local merchants. So, you know what? I just realized something. This is a change, I think, on Zoom, right? Because we're seeing each other instead of one of us being a little square up in the corner, whoever's talking. And
it's something you did, Mary, because I'm seeing it the same way as always.
oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm in a little box up in the corner, and you're on the big screen.
oh,
So there's different settings, but you've
oh,
obviously
huh.
adjusted that.
I
At the time
pushed
when
the
you were
button.
going, where did you go? Where did you go? That you obviously hit something.
Oh my, huh? All right. Oh, okay, huh? I must have. Oh, you know what? I've got it on gallery view. That's it. I think I'll just leave it. I kind of like it. I think. I wonder what's actually being recorded though. And that's the other thing. I forgot to hit record. Oh
I
well.
think it's that you like me being really small.
No, no, you're like equal tile because it's just the two of us. And never mind. Anyway,
So you were telling me this morning that you still got that house on Caldwell available and had a lot of showings, but it kind of reminded me that I mean that house seems like a really good deal. I mean, it's not a big expensive house, but it seems like a really good deal. But um, I feel like we're still hearing, or that the not necessarily we as real estate agents, but just in general, that out in the public, we're still hearing about, how uh, the market is moving so fast and there's very little inventory and all that. And I think since the summer that it's completely cooled, and it's a much more, I would say, balanced market,
I
at
agree.
least in the Chicago area.
Mhm,
Sure, there are pockets and certain types of listings or price points in certain areas that
mhm,
are really hot because there's been such a lack of them. But generally speaking, I think we're seeing more normal market times. We're seeing properties available for buyers.
mhm,
It's not quite the seller's market that it was, I believe, and it's more of like a balanced buyer seller market. Interest rates are creeping up. They're still
mhm.
incredible, but they're creeping up, and that will, I think, continue the cooling. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I think the public is still hearing, oh, it's hard to get properties. They're going like hotcakes, and when they do come available, and I think there's from what I've been seeing, everything from North Shore all the way through the city, that there's properties available, and there's good properties that have been sitting for at least for a little while, maybe not for a
Mhm,
long time,
mhm,
and
mhm.
not like it was on the North Shore, 3 or 4 years ago when
Oh yeah,
like
wow.
really difficult to move anything, I think, but this seems more like it's normal and balanced now. Are you seeing that
Mhm.
too?
Yeah, well, and actually, I think Leonard Steinberg actually said in his little daily newsletter this morning, he was talking about how the numbers for October of 2021 are down from what they were in October 2020
Yeah.
in his market, which is in Connecticut. I think he's
Well, he
around.
has Manhattan and Connecticut. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was talking this in his newsletter today, and so I mean, it seems to
I mean,
not.
and a little for, that also would make sense in either case, because in October of 2020, we were making up for the spring and summer of 2020, when everything was shut down and there were like no showings, especially in New York where he is, California.
Mhm.
They, it was illegal to show properties for many months. They could not, get anything.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of catching up to be done, a lot of pent up demand.
Mhm.
Um, so that, I mean, it's hard to compare. I'd be more interested to see how it compares to 2019, because at least for this time of year, at least for October, because that, I think that's a difficult one to compare to.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. So I got an email just before we got on the call. I always order groceries from Imperfect Foods. I don't know if you've heard of
You're
Imperfect
not
Foods.
supporting your local store.
What's that?
You're not supporting your local jewel.
Yeah. Well,
That doesn't count.
that yeah. No, well, about half of my groceries are at Jewel. I spend at Jewel, and the other half is Imperfect Foods. But what's cool about Imperfect Foods is that they take, how you see these billboards and they talk about how the average American throws out like $5 a week in food or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I throw out $1 in food. Well, I mean, maybe, but I don't know what they mean. I always was mystified by that statistic, but I think what they're doing is they're taking like how much food the grocery stores throw out because they can't sell it. They have a sell by
No,
date.
that statistic is for individual people, and people, yeah, I know you don't, but people buy
I'm such a
more.
cheapskate.
People buy way more than they need and use, and throw it out, especially produce. Yeah. And meat too. I know, and I know that partly because I just follow that stuff, but also, Stump, my partner, used to, Ziploc was one of his clients for many years. And so they used to have all those statistics and use them in a lot of marketing about, meat, especially like being, wasted and thrown out and stuff, and how much longer it's, you can keep it and that sort of thing. But yeah, the stats are ridiculous. I mean, people just buy so much food, just perishable food, and then end up throwing it out. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow, I had to throw out half of a cucumber the other day, and it kind of upset me
You
that
had,
I.
you had to go. You had to go lay down, have a little cry.
Okay, all right. Well, I take it back, but what I mean, so the whole point about imperfect, and here's what I tell people is who ask me,
The
and
funny thing is, I could totally see that, Mary. You were in a bad mood the rest of the day because you had to throw out half a
oh,
cucumber.
stop it, stop it. um but so there's two things that they do that's cool. I mean, first of all, like produce that would otherwise be thrown out, they it's imperfect. So like when I order avocados, are about maybe the size of a tennis ball rather than the big beautiful. In fact, I was in Jewel last week. I'm like, wow, look how big those avocados are, because now I'm used to the tennis ball size avocados. and things like that. So some of the produce is would it's perfectly good produce, but would otherwise be thrown out because the
It's not
grocery store.
pretty.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also do They so for instance, they have these cookies that they
They
sell.
upcycle.
They upcycle, right? Have I told you the story already? Where they
No, but
took,
I know what they do. I know upcycling, and I buy a lot of upcycle products. But yeah,
well, why don't you explain it for the people who don't know what upcycling is?
well, it's taking advantage of instead of recycling, it's taking advantage of those stuff that would otherwise go to waste.
Yeah,
Um,
products that would otherwise be thrown out. So for instance, they gave an example of like the coffee cherry, for instance. What happens when they harvest a coffee cherry? The only part of the cherry that really gets used, of course, is the bean. But the bean is actually encased, I guess, in a little hard cherry, right? So
mhm.
they take the shell and they create a flour out of it, and they make these cookies that actually has a little bit of a coffee flavor to it from the coffee cherry. But they make a flour out of the coffee cherry that would otherwise be thrown out. And
Remember, I told you I have my jeans that are made of
oh
that.
yeah, your jeans. That's right. What are they? What are
And they're
they?
my favorite jeans too.
What are they made from again?
Coffee, the like,
The coffee cherries.
well, I think not just the cherry, but
Oh,
also
like
other,
the branches or the leaves
yeah,
or something.
it's all the upcycle products. So even coffee grounds too. So it's like upcycled coffee products, and they're put into like woven into a fiber, and it's got a lot of cool properties because it's like antibacterial too,
Oh,
like naturally. And it's breathable, it's natural and breathable. I think it's mixed with other like cotton and stuff too. So there's it's not pure coffee, but
right. So your jeans don't smell like coffee when you
no, no. Kind of wish they would. But
not a bad smell to smell like,
yeah,
right?
but
But then you
but
wash them
I
a few
love them. They're really
times.
comfortable too, and they've got like a kind of a cool. They look normal, but it's got kind of a cool feel and texture to them too. But
Huh. I
yeah,
wonder if but anyway, the reason I'm bringing up Imperfect Foods is because they just sent out an email just before we got on the call that they're now a B as in boy corporation. Have you ever heard of a B corporation? I've never heard of that before.
no, like B Corp, like a C Corp,
Yeah, like
like
a C corp, but they call it a B as in boy corp.
okay,
So I did a quick Google search. Well, it turns out that in order to be, I guess it's kind of a socially um,
mm.
a company that's like social, has a social. Here, I'm gonna pull it up and I'll just read it. Um, Certified B Corps are businesses that meet the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability to balance profit and purpose. They're a for-profit corporation, but
So it sounds like they can claim that and then have like probably a tax benefit or something.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's supposed to. I mean, I don't know about. But there's this
Because
organization.
like a C corp or anything else like that is like a legal entity. So I would think that
Right.
it'd be a legal entity, and that there would be a reason for it to exist. That it would have to do with taxes.
I
But
don't think it's actually a legal designation. I think
oh, okay.
it's just a thing. But there's this organization that if you want to be
The B org.
what?
The B org.
Yeah, that they certify you as a B corporation. So I mean, I'm sure you're just a C corp, but then you go about getting certified by this organization,
Okay.
and you have to agree to certain standards and transparency in your book. I mean, it's fascinating. I hadn't heard about it, but I thought it was really interesting. Certified B corporation. Anyway, so there you go. We learned something new today. I did.
Well, thanks for dropping the knowledge.
Anyway, what I wanted to end the call with was just I had some positive feedback about my this week's need to know. Wes and I have started doing a weekly email with just a little tidbit of information last week I wrote a thing about 10 things you didn't know about pumpkins because of Halloween weekend and all. And I had a couple of people who were really fascinated with stuff they didn't know about pumpkins. So and then you had written a thing about the ADUs that we had talked about a couple months ago, and you've got something coming up too, right? Another one coming up.
I did one last week, the 203K financing one.
Oh, right, the 203K financing.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just wanted to extend the invitation to anybody who wants to get our weekly email. Just reach out to us, and we'd be happy to put you on our mailing list. And it's not.
I think this month I'm planning to do the Chicago's architectural history and do the one that you and I had talked about, but then follow it up with each week and during the month the reuse of the architecturally significant buildings.
Yeah, I want to do something. I think I've decided I'm going to do something for Veterans Day because I'm big on recognizing our veterans. Coming from a military family and background, it's kind of my thing. So
yeah.
Do something for Veterans Day on the 11th. But anyway, if you'd like to join our mailing list, just let us know. We'd be happy to add you, and we think they're fun. And hopefully other people will too.
Hopefully so.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for next week. We go to Austin the following week. So next week we're still here, right? The following week we go to Austin. Yeah. All right. Good. Well, everybody have a good week. If we can help you in any way or have a question, just let us know, and we'd be happy to help you in any way we can.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.